After the Triple Crown format brought its excitement, it's time to get down to the business at hand. We've landed at a bullring-style track, and with excitement bound to be at its highest, welcome along to RaceSpot TV and the iRacing National Short Course Series, presented by Next Level Racing. Delighted you could join us. My name is Arjuna Kankipati, joined alongside by the voice of off-road, Dave Arnold. And Dave, I love these sort of tracks, short and physical sort of racing, and I think we're in for a barn burner of a race with championship stakes at an all-time high.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be insane. I mean, this is just such a fun track. The elevation changes. It's just different than everything else we do out there. It's just incredible to see how these guys hit over 100 miles an hour coming down the front straightaway, hitting those undulations. But I'll tell you, the leap off that first turn, and they all bunch into that first turn, always makes it interesting.
And off the start as well, we do tend to see 2, 3 wide. It tends to be the name of the game. How aggressive are you willing to be, especially with the short races we've got in store? Remember, we are already halfway through this 2024 iRacing Short Course National Series. The new Triple Crown format, we've had 2 of those races. Barry, Luke Knupp sharing the victories. Dave, as they've done so far this season.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, Barry's been, unstoppable. He's done so well. Luke Knupp, of course, won the opener. Luke Knupp's right there. He's one race behind, but we were talking a little bit earlier. There's Keaton Swain. Is he going to come out swinging again? That's going to be the big question as we go in tonight.
Yeah, I think back to the iRacing Off-Road Championship Series, where it was Barry and Keaton Swain very much doing the dance for the championship, and Luke Knupp and Zachary Drapkin putting on a show in the All-Stars. Great to see both of them at the top of the championship here. Let's talk format, though, because no Triple Crown. It's back to normal. 4 laps in qualifying. Drivers get the track to themselves, and then we split them up into their respective heats. 3 drivers from each of the 4 heats advance directly to the main event, and then from 3 LCQs, 6 more drivers will join them. It means 18 trucks in that 22-lap main event. And the really interesting thing, Dave, at least from my perspective, is the competition caution, something that we didn't really see at all in the iRacing Off-Road Championship Series, but all the different ways you can accumulate points up over the course of the evening.
Oh, yeah. I mean, over the different series over the years, I mean, They've had different ways to get the points. Fastest qualifier, you get extra points. You're leading at the halfway point. When the comp caution comes out, you get another point. So there's all little ways just to chip away at a championship run.
And let's talk championship as well, because it is still relatively close halfway through the season. 7-point splits Barry from Knupp, and then Zachary Drapkin in the Racecraft Academy car is only a further 11 points back. But being realistic, as much as I think, Dave, you and I are waiting to see if Keaton Swain will come out swinging today, these are with 2 drop rounds being factored in as well. Luke Knupp has missed 2 rounds, and so that means he has no drop rounds left to play. Barry's worst finish is 4th. He's having a championship-worthy season in terms of consistency. Theoretically, he still can have a couple of bad races on the run to the end of the season.
Yeah, and one of the things a lot of people don't realize is the drop rounds, it's great because a lot of these drivers are real-life race car drivers. I know Luke Knupp, he had to go down to San Felipe. They race the San Felipe 250. They prep a truck. He's part of the team. And we see that, throughout the season. Keaton Swain does a lot of little sprint car racing. He does off-road. He does it all. But there's so many drivers. I'm looking at those list up there. Zach Drapkin, pro buggy driver. Dane Culver, pro mod or a mod kart driver. I mean, we see them all the time out there, and sometimes they conflict, but, if you play your numbers right, you get the right rounds, you're going to do well. You drop those rounds, you could be in a championship run, and I think that's what Keaton Swain and Luke Knupp are thinking. But Luke can't miss anymore.
Especially important given that the schedule has kind of, changed a little bit over the course of the season, and drivers have had to be somewhat adaptable. Let's talk, though, about this track in particular as we look up above at the Wild West Motorsports Park. I mean, it looks quite narrow, almost like a paperclip in many ways, and that's where I think a lot of the intrigue comes. And Dave, that run in through turn 3 and 4, it's very, very bumpy, and I've seen cars get launched into the catch fencing from being too aggressive through the final corner.
Oh, definitely. As you're coming out of turn 1, you're going to hit this little jump there, and you get turn 2. It's real narrow. You want to be on the inside rail. You're going to see a lot of guys fighting in there. But as you were talking about, it gets a little bumpy. There's these fingers that come off into turn 3. Really unsettles the truck to try and get that run. Getting up inside will get that truck a little unsettled. Sometimes you get a little too far outside, you're going to lose ground, and you lose a little traction.
And there's a look from up above. You really never can understand the elevation even on the sim, until you head to some of these facilities in the real world, and that's where the experience that they bring over in a lot of these drivers' cases will play very, very important. As mentioned, 4 laps, drivers get the track to themselves. And how important is the qualifying session going to be here, Dave, given that, we split the drivers up into their respective heats, and, well, passing's not difficult, but chaos will be very much expected.
Well, these drivers have gotten so fast, and if you look, the times are so close together. You really want to get a good qualifying position to get into that heat, to get up front, because if you're in the back in a qualifying session and we're only taking the top 3, you might have to go to that last dance, the last chance qualifier, to try and make it to the main.
And I really never feel comfortable talking about an LCQ. I even think back to the iRacing Rallycross World Championship days where we saw, well, let's say some less than optimal racecraft on occasion from drivers being, well, too optimistic, not wanting to leave themselves at the back. Connor Barry slides his way to the front with a 48.704. It's only 37 thousandths faster than Dane Culver.
Yeah, Dane Culver, he's a young driver. It's really been coming into his own. I've seen a lot of these drivers that were back of the pack drivers now fighting for the front. Seeing Trenton Briley on screen. Used to race with in the karts. He raced in the in one of our other series for a while in the trucks. So it's great to see him back there. And he's looking for a time. He's got a good run there. But Dane Culver's been a real surprise to see how he's been running up there, running currently second in qualifying.
And when I think about some of these drivers from the championship series, it's been great that they're being challenged. Dane Culver, not one that we saw Tyson Miller was, and we've seen so much experience change in the season since. Trenton Briley taking an interesting line after finishing that qualifying run.
Yeah, didn't get to run it for him. But, Tyson Miller, I would tell you that another driver we're seeing, constantly up there battling, making the mains now also. Cody Winicki's another one, but Zach Drapkin, he's always right in there. He's in the mix. He's kind of quiet in there, and all of a sudden he's heading, fighting for a podium usually.
Seeing drivers finish their second laps for a handful of cars. Crazy to think that already Dane Culver starting what will be his final attempt in the session as Keaton Swain to third, Thad Countryman up to fifth. One thing to keep an eye on is the fact that there are plenty of drivers waiting until deep in the session to set a time. Dave, Luke Knupp's just set his first lap time. It's got him up to third.
Yeah, that's pretty quick. I mean, he's still got looks like he's trying to get some more time in there. Dane Culver trying to get his last run to get that time to knock Connor Barry off the top spot, but it's going to be tough. That is a fast time. You can see Dane, looking right now, concentrating, trying to hit those fast lines, hitting all his marks, and not happy with that one, it looks like.
Yeah, it was not a bad lap time, but I don't think it ended up counting was the real issue. And so as we check back in with Luke Knupp, this is him winding out of the final corner. And again, he's only on the second of his 4 lap times in the Team Gold machine as Keaton Swain, 2 thousandths quicker than Connor Barry. Luke Knupp will be even faster and to the top if the lap time will count. It will.
Oh, wow. Luke really threw down a quick time there, that's for sure. But it's still, look at this. We're in the tens of thousands. We're into the thousands. I mean, this is just a blink of an eye that separates them.
We have legitimately 4 drivers within a tenth of a second. I know the lap time is, under 50 seconds, but it tells you something. Trenton Briley joins them. He's up to 5th. We take a look, though. Look of focus on the face of Thad Countryman as he throws the car into the final corner.
Well, you talked about Keaton Swain. We both talked about Keaton Swain. Now he moves into the second. Connor back to that third spot, but watching Countryman, he's a little deep in the field. He's sitting right now currently 8th in qualifying. Let's see if he's going to be able to get it in there. Christopher Plumley sits right in front of him. Tyson Miller, but yeah, Trenton Briley, that was a great run getting up to that 5th spot. You got to be in the top 10 when you're getting ready to go into qualifying. So we watch Zach Drapkin now.
Remember, they will
Red Rocket
get split into their 4 respective heats as well. So first 4 drivers will all start from pole. After that, do the math, Zachary Drapkin, Redline All Machine, 12th up to 10th, but he's only a quarter of a second off. It's crazy to think a quarter of a second only puts you on the edge of the top 10. Crystal King now just behind.
And Crystal King, another driver that we've seen her come up through the regional series into the national series that has had some great results. She's in there. She makes the mains. I mean, sitting 11th, considering the talent in there, seeing a new driver like her is to be right up in there with this upper echelon. But the times are so close together. Tenths of a second, hundredths of a second, thousandths of a second. I mean, it's a blink of an eye, all these drivers. And we're seeing that all the way down like you said, the quarter of a second with Crystal King.
Remember that they have 4 lap times. Some drivers have waited until the very dying stages to go back out there for their final attempts. Connor Barry is on what is his 3rd timed lap. He will get another opportunity after this, as Crystal King now up to 4th. I mean, this is crazy. I've seen some wild qualifying sessions across of all 4 disciplines available on iRacing, but none, I think, quite like this. And Connor Barry looks so calm, so focused. And Dave, I've got to assume this is a relatively tidy lap so far.
Oh, yeah, definitely. It's looking good. I'm watching his lines as he hits around. I mean, it's the perfect lines. You can see during qualifying, you could hit those lines. During a race, you're not always going to be able to hit those quick times there, but this is where practice comes in there and learning the track, knowing where all your marks are, and hitting those marks.
And hitting his marks. Back on top is Connor Barry, and I think Luke Knupp does have a lap to try and respond. Will he be able to improve? Crystal King is going to run to the line with her final flyer of a lap time, and it's a 49.541. Excuse me, starting the final lap time now. So we've got 2 minutes to go, and still no idea who's actually going to be on pole. Here comes Cody Winicki on the run into the final corner.
Great run by Winicki right now. Sorry, just looking up, a message popped up that Keaton Swain, Keaton is, a good 3rd place right now. But, man, I'll tell you, when Nicky's still deep in the field, he's going to have to look for those times. And let's see, he's going to come across in 12th.
No improvement, I think, for him there in terms of position. Crystal King out of the final corner, and is the final car left on track. So we'll get the opportunity to close out the session, and with a 48.877, it will be no improvement. And that's it, done and dusted. The field locked and loaded for 4 heats. Although right as I say that, guess who rolls off pit lane? Luke Knupp for one more try. Although he won't get enough time to go back around and get this complete, I think.
Yeah, it's running out, 56 seconds. Hey, you're in the 46 seconds. You might just squeak it out there. If that's his last run, he might be able to do it.
I think
a little driver, I was kind of surprised Oliver Golding back in 16th. I thought he would have been up a little bit higher.
You know what? I think when the field is split by this small margin, being half a second off, it's not necessarily the worst thing in the world. But, Dave, we've got 24 times, 3 drivers going to be starting at the back. Only 3 drivers advance from each of the heats. They're relatively short races as well. If people are new to the world of iRacing short course, to the world of short course as a whole overall, what should they expect as we get ready to go?
Looks like it's going to be a good run here as they start to set up here for the first heat races. I just got a message. Keegan Kincaid is checking out our live broadcast. One of the championship off-road racers in the Pro 4 category. Or Pro 2, sorry. Pro 2.
I'm sure we're going to be watching and cheering on for some of the drivers that are now getting ready to go. Remember, we've got 4 6-lap heats, 3 drivers who advance directly from each of them. And at the front, it's going to be Connor Barry and Dane Culver. Remember, they were split by less than a tenth in the qualifying session. Christopher Plumley and then Cody Van der Veer share row 2 with Dennis Mickelson, and then Taylor Busch, 5th and 6th positions. At the very back, in the 7th position, Cody Retzlaff in that Team Rogue 525 will line up and look to try and push his way on forward. 7 enter, 3 move their way on forward. The rest have to go through the mad scramble of an LCQ. Dave, something that everyone wants to avoid.
Oh, definitely. It's like a cage match out there, looks like we got 7 going to enter and only 3 going to come out of the cage.
And I think that's why as well, if you are at the front, you don't have to fight too much. The 3rd position is often where we end up seeing the most fighting, and therefore trying to stay out of trouble in these short races is going to be pretty important. Something that's also maybe crazy to think about is these are 6-lap races. The LCQs are only 4-lap, Dave, so there'll be even more action through all of that.
Oh, yeah, you run out of time quick, Before you know it, the white flag throws out there, and you're like, wait a minute, I got to be up another position, because sometimes we only take the top 2 usually out of LCQs.
These LCQs as well, I can tell you from experience that the fighting for the transfer spots can be so physical that what iRacing short course does quite smartly is actually advance a couple more drivers from the LCQs, and then once race controls had their final say, we set the final grid directly in that main event. Nerves must be building in some ways, but, you know, Dave, for Conor Barry at the very front, knowing that he's got a slender championship advantage, the other thing to think about, qualifying points come into play as well, and Conor Barry's already grabbed 5 points for pole position.
Yeah, that's how I talked about how you start chipping away at those points. You do well in the qualifying, you get yours extra points, and it usually goes 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 on the point system.
So the drivers, I think, are getting their final instructions and are ready to go. Barry, Culver front row, Plumley, Van der Veer behind them, and then Mikkelsen, Van den Busch, and Retzlaff. Remember, 7 enter, 3 to make their way directly on forward. And after this, still got plenty of racing to go, including what should be a pretty hectic week, the first week of May, where we go to Bark River on a Wednesday, Crandon short then on Thursday, back-to-back races for the drivers to get to grips with and get their trucks set up for as well. I'm looking forward to this, been missing some short course action. And one thing that the drivers don't necessarily like, but I like saying, is the jumpy trucks, Dave, are some of the best cars on iRacing.
The jumpy trucks. That's not the first time I've heard that, and that's a good description of what they do, because these things do like to pop around like Mexican jumping beans.
And Conor Barry's hoping to jump his way to the victory in Heat 1. And as we climb up into the opening corner, remember, 7 enter, 3 advance. Long way around for Van der Veer. Can he make it work as slides being thrown on that climb now down into turn 2? Barry leads, and Dane Culver looking comfortable in second spot.
Barry's going to pitch in that preferred line, get it low, try and hide and protect the inside, but you can see Culver was trying to look up at the inside, get the shoehorn out there. Plumlee's going to tuck right in behind Culver as they make that left-hander coming around 180 degrees. Everybody very smooth, and this is a big climb up the hill with a couple of jumps to unsettle the trucks. Now, the thing to watch, this finger right here, you can see the trucks right there, unsettled. And that sometimes can throw you out of position.
Christopher Plumley with a big look to the inside of Dane Culver, and they'll be barging each other on that run up to the opening corner. The Gecko looks on with a lot of intrigue, and you've got to think that Van der Veer sits behind and hopes that they squabble and cost each other some time. Plumley's going to make it work, though, and down the hill, move already made. What's Culver going to do, thinking that Van der Veer behind will be fighting for the transfer spot?
Beautiful slide job by Plumley, but look at this. Culver's going to answer right back to the inside. Plumley's going to be side by side going up into the left-hander. He wants to have that inside line, but get that drive. And look at this, though. He's not going to get it. Plumley's going to hold on to it.
And all as Barry breaks away, and they're really costing each other some time here in this great fight. We'll be able to take a look at both of the drivers. Dane Culver on the left, Christopher Plumley in virtual reality on the right. Another slide job made, a bit of damage to the right rear fender of Culver, but he's back up to second. And now with 2 laps complete of 6, we rise up to the opening corner once more.
Yeah, I'll tell you, Culver gave him the old classic bump and run. Plumley tries to answer back to the inside. And that's the good thing. You could hit him from a little bit behind. You could have door-to-door contact, but don't change the position of the other driver, because the stewards aren't going to like that.
And race control has already penalized one of our championship contenders, and that was Conor Barry, and that's something else to keep in mind. Van den Busch and Mikkelsen squabbled at the back, but as Plumley almost climbs over the left rear of Dane Culver, this is that opportunity for Cody Van der Veer into the final corner. Half race distance in this first heat, this time by. He'll set up the move in his Racecraft Academy car.
And Van der Veer with a beautiful move, trying to slide down to the backside of Plumley. He's now in a striking position. It's all about setting up, trying to play with them, trying to get in a different line there, and pray you can get the slide job.
So it's just so tidy through the opening corner when you're trying to be fast. When you're battling side by side, it's a little bit more wayward and haphazard. These drivers very much having to be technical. And one thing that, Dave, I always appreciate about off-road in particular, especially in the sim, you don't have the seat of your pants feeling, and that's why I do think we see a lot more drivers in virtual reality, in motion rigs, using whatever extra sensual feel they can to try and understand what the car is doing.
I mean, there's that old adage, driving by the seat of your pants, which comes from every form of racing. You could feel what that car or truck's going to do. You know, if it's leaning a little bit, you feel it's starting to break loose or slide, you can kind of correct. So it's kind of hard. You know, it's nice with the force feedback with the steering wheels, gives you a little bit of that feeling, but the full motion rigs, I mean, that's the only way it's going to give you the real experience.
Yeah, it's so crazy that I talk to drivers on the roadside, for example, who say, no, I would never want to be in a motion rig. It's too much. Whereas these drivers, especially Cam Peterson, I remember we saw him in the first iRacing Off-Road Championship Series, looked a lot of fun. Bit more damage to the front of Christopher Plumley's car, but we work back towards the line. White flag this time by final lap, and Christopher Plumley, as much as he wants to pass Dane Culver, last thing he wants to do, Dave here, is compromise himself in a fight with Dane Culver and drop himself into the clutches of Van der Veer.
That's a good point to bring up. That's one thing you don't want to do. You're in a qualifying position. Just suck it up. You're going to get third. You're going to go to the, you're going to make it to the dance. That's all that matters. Don't push it.
There are points for winning the heat as well as finishing second. It's 2 points for the win, 1 point for second, but that's relatively small margins. I think it's more just something that the likes of Barry and Luke Knupp will be thinking about, given the championship is going to be on the line between them. Plumley is, though, going to make some contact and then runs down into the wall. Here comes Van der Veer up the inside.
And Van der Veer with a great move as he saw the opportunity, took it. Plumley tries to answer back. He does the crossover. Jumps to the inside there, but Van der Veer's got a good run up the hill. Culver has the position he wants. He's looking for those points, looking for that checkered flag here. And Van der Veer goes wide. Plumley dives to the inside.
Connor Barry wins heat number 1, but behind in the drag race to the line, Christopher Plumley's going to hold on, and you can see the frustration, the disappointment for Cody Van der Veer. A self-inflicted mistake, a little bit too hot into the final corner, and now has to go through the mad scramble of an LCQ. We'll grab a look at the results from heat number 1, then get to the grid for heat number 2, because this will be fast and frenetic, and we won't be taking a breath until we get to those LCQs. Barry and Culver, along with Plumley, will advance, but again, remember, you'll see the rest of the drivers with one more opportunity to fight their way to the main event. Heat number 2 will line up like this, with Luke Knupp and Trenton Browley at the very front, and then Thad Countryman and Matthew Lindy up behind them on row 2. Cross Kirchmeier and then Nathan Metoxen share row 3, with Terry Miller at the very back lining up in his 72 machine. Great to see the oldest ever competitor in the iRacing Off-Road Championship Series, indeed an iRacing World Championship history, join us here as well. But one mistake, so costly. I wonder if any of the drivers Dave watched and learnt from that first heat.
Well, it's just pretty much, it's a different race each time. You got different competitors, different mindsets, and everybody wants to be the first across the line.
We've got live points to be able to talk about over the course of the day. Remember that those 2 points may not seem like much, but when we came into this round of the championship with just, single digit splitting the top 2, it is definitely something to keep in mind. Now, Connor Barry says plus 50, but that's because technically he's already made his way through to the main event along with Dane Culver. Just keep an eye, though, on the rest of those drivers that will be trying to fight their way on forward. And once again, 7 will enter, 3 will move on forward, and I'll just go back to something that we were touching on before the first heat. Dave, it's more important to finish inside of the top 3 than to, finish in 4th.
Yes, definitely. Well, it's just, you have less chances. Only 2 are going to come out of the LCQs. So, therefore, one of the positions already eliminated. So, it makes it that much tougher. And they're still stacked with a lot of talent in there. I mean, don't say, they're just a crappy driver because they went to LCQ. Oh, no. I've seen some of the best go to the LCQ. You just never know what's going to happen.
It's about how you fight your way back into the main event, though. That is so important.
Right.
And can Luke Knupp hold on at the front as we climb through the opening corner? He gets a bit of contact from Trenton Browley behind, but down into turn 2. It's side by side for 3rd and 4th position. Matthew Lindy with a great start, already up to a transfer spot.
And it looks like Luke Knupp, though, is trying to keep those points going with them. Doing it, coming, of course, out of this one, just like Connor Barry, if he stays out front. Trenton Browley think he's going to get some point, but Matthew Lind, these guys, pretty much he's got the target on his back. Thad Countryman definitely has a sight set on him right now.
And the great thing about, these drivers in particular is that we'll see them across of RaceSpot TV. Lindy is someone we've seen in some rallycross cars impressing and taking the fight to the likes of Jacob Rafoss there as well, along with his teammate Evan McFarlane. So keep an eye on him. How will he deal with the pressure from Thad Countryman? We did have a little bit of a tangle at the back of our first heat that saw a couple of drivers drop down, and we might be in for a similar sort of situation. Nathan Metoxen, Cross Kirchmeier, into turn 2, and you can see the just for trim lawn service machine was all sorts of crossed up, and they're costing each other time at the back.
And we still got a good battles going on here. I mean, nobody's really just run away with this one. Luke Knupp, he's still got a lot of company back there. Trenton Briley and Matthew Lindy, though, definitely going to try and deny him that.
And I think the battle for the transfer spot going to be less interesting than it was in heat number 1. We may have a fight at the very front this time. Bai is side by side for 5th and 6th positions, hoping these two drivers don't cost each other too much ground, because we're going to cross the stripe next time by and be halfway through. This, though, is kind of what I was talking about. Trenton Briley within half a car length of the race leader as they dive down into turn 2.
I mean, you just wait. Trenton's going to be up there. He's going to be constantly on Luke Knupp there. These two know this track very well. They've raced it in real life. Trenton, of course, back in the days of Super Lights, and Luke Knupp spent a lot of time putting that thing on top of the box in a mod kart.
And Trenton Briley, someone that we've seen have some success as well in the championship series. Let's see if he can replicate that here today with the back half of this 2024 National Series getting underway. Again, still fighting behind. Nathan Metoxen's going to drop down slightly and lose some ground. I wonder if Race Control will end up taking a look at that. The suspension working hard, though, as we cross the halfway mark of heat number 1.
It's just incredible to watch these things, how the suspension just sucks these bumps up, going through it there. The front drive, pulling them around the corners, the back drive, bringing those rear ends around. These are just incredible machines.
And I'll be honest, machines that I was introduced to via iRacing. I feel very fortunate, Dave, to say that as well, because, iRacing, for so many people, they join it for one thing, whether it's the short course machines, for some it's NASCAR. I get to work with the great team at IMSA as well, but if you're willing to be open to everything, you can try basically everything on 4 wheels here on iRacing.
Well, I mean, that's a beautiful platform. If hey, I'm not a big fan of this one, hey, this is my jam. They have it. They've got your jam there. That's all I can say.
And then you have some drivers like Alex Bergeron, who are so talented. They can compete in the top levels across a dirt oval, dirt road. He was back in the open wheel Formula 1 championship days of iRacing, competed in the eNASCAR series as well. Just multi-talented, multifaceted, and make me feel rather inadequate. We'll see the white flag this time by. Matthew Lindy sits comfortably in 3rd. Trenton Briley puts the pressure onto your race leader. I don't know if Thad Countryman has enough to make a challenge on this final lap.
Yeah, Thad's got a good distance out there, but I can tell you there's so many real-life drivers that have come out of off-road. I mean, we're going back to the Jimmy Johnsons. Let's talk, Robbie Gordon, off-road racer, NASCAR driver. I mean, so many of these drivers have done different disciplines. It's just like in iRacing. You're a race car driver, you should be able to go and be able to translate between all the different racing platforms that iRacing has to offer.
And again, it goes back to just that the time that you can then spend in the sim, right? The cars and tracks are so close, and unlock unlimited race time, basically, and unlimited practice time. Not really seeing too much fighting, though, in this second heat of 4. Luke Knupp is going to win and grab 2 very valuable championship points, with Connor Barry grabbing a bit of an advantage in the qualifying session. He'll advance with Trenton Briley and Matthew Lindy, though. The rest of the drivers, an LCQ to fight on through.
Yeah, I think just a couple points. Luke Knupp lost just because of the qualifying we talked about, but still he gets the 2 points there. It still keeps it in the single digits.
And that's all you can really do at this stage. We've still got a long way to go, and one thing to keep in mind is we've talked about drop rounds. You can't drop the final round of the championship. Everything will be on the line. Here's a look at the race results. Remember, the team gold pair of Knupp and Briley will move forward, along with Matthew Lindy. The rest have to go through the mad scramble. Check out the grid, though, for the 3rd of 4 heats. Keaton Swain looking to try and get back into victory lane. Will be alongside Nicholas Dashalay in his factory SimSport machine. Zachary Drapkin in the red line all car has Sean Winkler for company, with Brent Smith and then Brock Smith at the very back. But don't forget Dennis Crosby. We will have 7 trucks ready to roll here in the 3rd heat of the evening.
This is going to be a fun one. Brock and Brent Smith, the twins, are going to be battling back there.
And I noticed headsets, Dave, on the both of them. What's the story there?
Brent Smith is the voice of championship off-road racing and like Crandon and all that. I work Crandon on championship Sundays, but he does the national series there.
So they hopefully know their way around these trucks, and therefore, does that mean that, Dave, we've got to be a little bit harsher when they make mistakes?
Oh, Brent's got some time in Pro Lights there, and I know he was trying to work on building a big truck, but, I like to razzle him a little bit.
You've kind of got to. That on the front of Brent Smith's car, by the way, truck, by the way. Spectacular. Love it.
Yeah, Kyle LeDuc, unfortunately, we lost him to cancer this last year. And in fact, 2 weeks ago, we just did his celebration of life out in Temecula.
I remember we had a great event here on iRacing celebrating everything Carl has done as well. So great to see the paint schemes on display. But as we get ready to go for the third heat of the evening, Keaton Swain doesn't want to wait, and already behind there will be a battle between Zachary Drapkin and Nicholas Dachelet through the opening corner. The red line all machines going to grab the advantage as they descend 3 wide behind in the fight for 4th position.
And Swain, not surprised, right out front there, but great move by Drapkin as he goes in there. But look at this, Dachelet dancing right back. Drapkin left that inside. Now this is going to be the curious here. He's going to go for the outside-inside move, try and get the run, but I think Drapkin's going to have the momentum.
They're squeezing one another, that is for sure. Dachelet, you can see him on the left in VR. Zachary Drapkin on the right, and then there was a bit of contact, I think, mid-air on the entry into the corner, and they'll cost each other time to Keaton Swain. They'll allow Sean Winkler to close the margin as well. End of lap number 1. No change, though, across of all 7 trucks.
I think I'm looking at Zach Drapkin right now. I'm going to tell him to breathe. It looks like he's holding his breath there. And it's so great seeing all the different race faces that these drivers have.
And we often, I don't know what it is about sim racing in particular, tongues tend to stick out. There's all sorts of weird stuff. Drapkin back up the inside, and, well, this is really costing them time. Swain's going to be at least 2 seconds clear by the time we wrap back towards the start-finish stripe. More contact through turn number 3, and Sean Winkler's sitting here going, right, how do I find my way and pick my way into a transfer spot?
As you start to see fenders fly off there, Dachelet taking a little damage. These guys, rubbing's racing. It really comes to it in short course racing. But, watching these guys battle it out, this is someone saying, I'm going to prove that I can run up there. But problem is, when you start battling with somebody, as we can see right now, bye-bye Keaton Swain.
It's what we saw in heat number 1. And once again, just a bit of a love send in towards the opening corner, reminding Drapkin that Nicholas Dachelet is there. Can the red line all machine get back up the inside? The answer is yes, and not just forces his way on through, opens the door for Winkler to slide his way on forward, and as Brock Smith mounts the wall behind, these drivers stretch their way towards the first half of this race being complete.
Yeah, it looked like, unfortunately, Dachelet tried to turn down, and that's where Drapkin already put his truck there. And Sean Winkler now is going to get a lot of company. Dachelet is definitely going to start leaning on him as they come off the turnstile.
I don't know if this is how they all thought it was going to go, but regardless, they're in this situation. They now have got to fight with it. And the great thing about the trucks, too, is no matter how much damage they take, they don't really lose too much performance. And the only issue that I think Dachelet will be thinking about now is the lines that he's running don't always necessarily look the fastest. And as much as, off-road short course racing allows contact, you're not going to get away with it entirely. Race control will take a look at it, and your other drivers around you also won't be so happy.
Yeah, that's what I talk about. If you change the attitude or the position of the vehicle that you're battling with, that's where the race control is not going to have anything to do with that. They want to keep it clean. Door-to-door contact, a little bump and run, a little love tap from behind. That's okay. Little side-to-side, throwing some elbows. That's okay. But don't take them out.
And I just go back to some of the times that we've seen drivers be a bit too optimistic, not necessarily at this track, but at other tracks where you can also use lines that let you ramp off the corner. I think that's something that we've seen at Bark River, for example, as well. But those are things that race control also has to factor in. All the unique ways that drivers try and find ways to be fast.
Yeah. One for sure is Arizona at Wild Horse Pass. That thing, I'll tell you, these guys bank it off the wall.
Oh, yeah.
It's incredible.
To the point where I think there's a new rule that's been added about that maybe in particular, but we'll come back around. White flag this time by 3.2 seconds, your race lead margin, but as Dachelet, a bit of a mistake, almost a bobble out of the final corner. I think Sean Winkler looks pretty comfortable in this fight for the final transfer position to the main event.
Yeah, Sean Winkler's just got to keep his lines, keep straight right now. Dachelet, I think he's running a little frustrated. Sometimes you got to back it down. You got to breathe. You got to calm down. Smooth is fast. You know, I hate to say it, slow and smooth. That's what wins the race sometimes.
And crazy to see two drivers both in VR in this battle as well. So again, virtual reality very much coming in handy. Remember, Keaton Swain is going to grab the victory up front, but this is where the real focus needs to be, because this is where drivers recognize that either they have to fight through the LCQ or they'll be watching on from the sidelines with a bit more comfort. No move going to be offered, though, by Dashley. Winkler a little bit wide. And as Keaton Swain comes out on top in heat number 3, Zachary Drapkin, Sean Winkler do enough to move forward, too.
And unfortunately, Dashley, Brent Smith, Dennis Crosby, and Brock Smith are all going to have to go to the LCQ.
And that was Brock Smith in pit lane as well. I think that might have been the first driver that did not get to see the checkered flag. A quick look at the results once again, then we turn the page over to the fourth and final heat of the evening before we'll head off into what will be 3 LCQs. It's the factory SimSport machine of Keaton Swain on top, although his teammate Dashley misses out. It's Racecraft's Drapkin and Winkler that do move on forward. Brent Smith, along with Dennis Crosby and Brock Smith, also have to fight through the LCQ. Let's go take a look, though, at the starting grid for heat number 4. Crystal King and Tyson Miller on the front row. Cody Winicki and Oliver Golding on row number 2, with Dave a bit surprised to see Golding down in the qualifying order. Cameron McGijic and Jeremy DeWitt 5th and 6th positions, and that's the entire grid for heat number 3. We've not seen too much physicality so far, so maybe, Dave, the drivers have heeded the warnings of race control.
Oh, yeah, they're definitely, I mean, as the seasons have progressed over the last couple of years, the drivers have gotten a lot more courteous to other drivers. I mean, we used to see them where they're teaching it like a video game. This is not a video game. This is the race sim.
6 of one, half a dozen of the other.
It's not Grand Theft Auto.
Drive it like you stole it. That's what we need to have a series where that's what the motto for the drivers to live by is. Crystal King, Tyson Miller, Cody Winicki at the front, Oliver Golding. You were surprised to see him down in qualifying. He's got some work to do to fight his way forward.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this is the lower half of the qualifying drivers, the last heat to qualify. So it's going to be interesting to see how these drivers all fight it out here. I expect Oliver to get up there and start fighting, but Crystal King, she's one tough cookie up front.
And she's willing to get the elbows out, that is for sure. And she leads us up on that climb into turn number 1. The iRacing pace truck, by the way, give it some jumps as well, because it finds its way through on forward. Contact immediately, though, as they work their way down through the opening corner. It is going to be the fight for 3rd and 4th position, where the most intrigue is Oliver Golding now on the inside, trying to get past Cody Winicki.
King throws it in there. Tyson Miller's going to follow the line there a little bit closer, and Oliver Golding was hugging that K-rail, trying to get a little bit faster run there. A great shot from the behind battle going on as we see 2nd and 3rd all trying to get that speed to catch up to Crystal King. Tyson Miller running 2nd.
I feel like we're in for a bit more of a similar race to Heat 2 than what we saw in Heats 1 and 3, where we're not necessarily going to see a breakaway, and Oliver Golding is going to feel the pressure as much as he is now in 3rd. Cody Winicki sits behind, and there are still 2 drivers, don't forget, lurking behind that could pick up the pieces if we do end up in a bit of a scramble, as they will off the opening corner. Tyson Miller tries to get to the inside of Crystal King as Cody Winicki on the outside of Oliver Golding. It's 2 by 2 down into turn 2.
Miller trying to set up for an outside-inside, but King, she keeps it tight and low through the turn, so he's going to have to relegate right behind her there. Oliver Golding fighting up the hill, trying to chase him down, but it's Winicki, DeWitt, and McGissick trying to battle up to a qualifying position.
And those last 2 really, I think, struggling to avoid tripping over one another as we'll dive back down out of the final corner. And this is a track where you just... Again, the elevation change, it's one thing to see it on these cameras. It will be another thing to experience in the real world, I'm sure.
Oh, it's insane, the elevation changes. You just don't get, it doesn't really give it justice here. But I mean, just this drop off. It's a lot steeper than you think.
And unfortunately not a track that exists in the real world anymore, so not one that, you know, fans of iRacing can enjoy and then go and experience in the real world, but you can always experience the thrills of racing that it provides. And as Oliver Golding tries to just block the lines from Cody Winicki, I've got to say, Winicki being a lot more restrained than what we saw in Heat 3. No body panels flying just yet.
Well, I think he's heard probably some warnings from some of the stewards, so he's trying to keep his head about him to keep it very smooth right now as Golding has a great run off the hill as they head down. Winicki still trying to find that speed to get by him, but look at this. King and Miller starting to walk away with this one.
And are they going to fight up the front? Remember, there's a point difference between them. There is also grid positioning come the main event, but side by side down off of turn one into the second corner, and it's all once again Winicki on the outside. He's not really been able to make that work, and give credit to Oliver Golding. He seems to recognize what line he needs to run to hold on to the spot and not giving the opportunity up just yet.
Oh, he's definitely getting the elbows 10 feet wide there, trying to have that truck fill up the line. So Winicki has no daylight there whatsoever. But really watching the battle right now for third and the battle for first continue. And I'll tell you, Miller is all over King right now.
And 2 laps to go this time by. They've got a margin behind as well to play with. They can afford to fight a little bit. 2 laps to go. Does Tyson Miller think it's worth going for it just yet? Doesn't force the issue down through the opening corner. Now behind, Cody Winicki has managed to bully his way in front of Oliver Golding. Will the favor be returned next time by?
Yeah, I think Winicki was definitely being patient with Golding. Surprised that Golding gave it up that quick and easy there. Must have been a little bit of a mistake. I missed it. King, though, she's hitting those lines perfectly. Miller has nowhere to go. I think he's going to probably just going to have to reside to possibly getting second here, because Miller kept it smooth off the turnstile and the run.
It's been a tidy race overall. The only switch at the very back, no change inside of the top 4, and will that hold as we get ready to finish up this final heat of the evening? That's a great camera shot as well, just seeing the drivers climb up across the start-finish line into the opening corner. Down they will go, with Crystal King still leading, and not, I think, going to even need to cover the inside. That will have to be the thought, though, for Cody Winicki, although Oliver Golding a couple of car lengths too far behind.
Yeah, Golding is doing everything he can. Oh, a little bit of a contact there with Winicki, kept it clean. But look at this. Miller is glued to that tailgate right now of Crystal King.
It's been some great racing, respectful racing, but you have to assume that the respect is going to be thrown out the door as soon as the heats are in the books, because LCQs to come. Crystal King with a bit of a poor run out of the final corner. Not really going to matter. She will grab the victory in heat number 4. Tyson Miller does advance along with her. And Cody Winicki will hold on to the third and final transfer spot. Oliver Golding doing enough at the start, but unfortunately just dropping off Dave and not being able to hold on.
Yeah, definitely was a good run, but I know we're going to see some good battles in the LCQs as we get ready for those.
We'll take a look at those race results. 2 factory SimSport machines probably not willing to squabble too much at the very front of the field, and Cody Winicki advances along with King and Miller. Golding will have to work his way on forward with DeWitt and Magicic. It will be interesting to see how they all go. We've got those 3 LCQs to come. Don't go anywhere on RaceSpot TV. The action continues right after this. With 4 heats in the books, 12 drivers have locked themselves into the main event. Now, the scramble of an LCQ. 2 drivers advance from 3 races left to come. And with just a handful of laps to play with, it's bound to be crazy. Welcome along to RaceSpot TV and to round 6 of the iRacing National Short Course Series presented by Next Level Racing. Our Junior Kanki Party joined alongside by Dave Arnold, and we're already ready for these drivers, so let's go down and take a look at the starting grid. Only 5 will enter. Remember, 2 will advance, and Cody Vanderveer, Oliver Golding will be at the very front. Brent Smith and Nathan Metoxen share row 2. Dennis Mikkelsen lines up by himself on row number 3. It's been an interesting evening so far, Dave. I'm looking forward to seeing who's got the most willingness to be physical here on the start.
Yeah, it's definitely, I mean, we just took away a position to qualify here, so they're going to be battling. You got to get out front, you got to run it, and you got to stay clean and smooth.
And because these are 4-lap races rather than 6-lap races, I think the other thing to remember here is, Dave, there's no time for waiting around.
No, there isn't, and that's one thing is you got to get on it. You got to establish your position, and you can't look back.
And so remember, 2 will advance. If race control deems that there is a bit of argy-bargy for the move that determines who moves on forward, there is the potential for them to slightly reset affairs. Only 4 laps, though. This race going to be about 3.5 minutes. 5 enter, 2 move forward. Which 2 will it be? Oliver Golding already feeling the pressure because he gets swarmed on the race start. Brent Smith's going to be up the inside as we get onto the anchors. 3 wide. Who's going to get the advantage down into turn 2? Dennis Mikkelsen wants to go from 5th to 2nd, but he's on the outside on the dive down into the braking zone.
And Vanderveer is going to break away nice and clean there, and I think now is the battle who's going to qualify 2nd or go to the main advance. Brent Smith jumps out by just an inch, but Mikkelsen throws it up the inside, pushes Smith out, and look at this, Golding making a run now, trying to fill up that spot, gets in front of Brent Smith.
I don't think you could be much happier with this start if you are Cody Vanderveer, because you are 1.5 seconds clear, and see that gap rise because there's more argy-bargy down out of the final corner. Mikkelsen holds on, albeit with the rear end stepping out on him. It's Golding and Smith side by side for 3rd and 4th position up into turn number 1.
And unfortunately, Nathan Metoxen back there watching it all unfold, trying to get up into the mix as we go on board. Again here with Metoxen trying to see Brent Smith. You can see him just to his right-hand side. Oh, talk about unsettling the trucks there.
Well, I think it might now just be down to if Dennis Mikkelsen can avoid not crashing, because down through turn 2, bye-bye, Golding, Metoxen, and Smith still squabbling amongst one another, and now the gap between the top 3, 2.5 seconds.
Yeah, it looks, unfortunately, when you get tied up, you start battling with somebody, you can just watch everybody else leave you in the dust.
And so a reminder for the drivers in the 2nd and 3rd LCQs that you don't want to do that same thing. No. You need to be a bit more aware. Mikkelsen shed the right front of, excuse me, no, that's just the way this paint looked. For a moment, I thought he had no right front bumper.
Yeah, well, yeah, I was going to say, it does look like he's missing
very
the right
confusing
side, yes. So that's stealth bumper.
Welcome to RaceSpot TV, Dave, where we spend our races. We had a 24 Hours of Daytona earlier this year, iRacing's biggest event. Literally 20 minutes in, me and the other commentator who are on at the start are arguing about whether a car was brown or orange. That is what we do at RaceSpot. Welcome.
Is it like, does it dress green or blue or black?
That is exactly what it was like, except my fellow commentator was, I'm going to say colorblind, especially when I'm getting messages from Williams Esports like telling me that I am correct and it is orange. Anyway, final lap of the race, 2 seconds at the front of the field. Cody Vanderveer and Dennis Mikkelsen should do enough, and now we'll have a little bit of a time to wait and figure out what they want to do come the main event, because Dave, one thing of coming through the LCQ, you start at the back after all 12 of those drivers who started in the main event.
Yeah, you're going to have 3 LCQs, so they're going to go by times too, and that could, you want to have a quick times here also, and how they're going to place you on the line.
I'm really looking forward to seeing what we get from those 2nd and 3rd LCQs, because the first 2 laps of this one, absolute bedlam. A little bit calmer, though, at the end. Cody Vanderveer does enough to move his way on forward. A little bit calm, cracks the neck, and a bit of relief.
I saw that. Whew.
The work's not done, though. Remember, the majority of the points to be paid out once we get to the 20-plus laps that we will have. And for a moment there, Our results got updated. Was there a bit of drama? Let's get a look at those race results and just confirm, because Dennis Mickelson has indeed been dropped to the back. And so Oliver Golding, Dave, grabs the second of the transfer spots.
Well, sometimes it's better to be lucky than good, I guess, in certain situations.
I'm not quite sure what the iRacing black flag was for there, but it does drop him down a lap, and it means that as we get ready for Thad Countryman, Cody Retzlaff, Jeremy DeWitt, Dennis Crosby, and Terry Miller to get ready to go, I don't think all 5 will end up racing, so it might just be down to 2. There was a little bit of contact. Race controls just letting us know, Dave, that they decided was deemed a little bit dirty, and so unfortunately, Dennis Mickelson elbows out, drops to the back.
Well, that's why we're not race control. We just talk about what we see, and we like good racing.
I love it as well, because the one thing that we missed in the iRacing Championship Series was live race control, because we were talking about it earlier, Dave. You can have contact here. It's probably not always advisable, but drivers will always push to the limit and then a little bit beyond as well.
Yeah, other than the guy that leads from wire to wire that has all his fiberglass off in real racing here, everything else, if you're not hitting, you're not trying.
Oh, that sounds like my experience in most iRacing official races, unfortunately. A confirmation, by the way, Terry Miller not going to take part in this second of the 3 LCQs. So 4 laps, 4 drivers, 2 to work on forward. And going back again to what we saw in that previous race, just make sure that if you are in the fight for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th position, you don't let your leader break away, because then you could be down just the 1 transfer spot. Thad Countryman, Cody Retzlaff going to be on the front row next to each other. And one thing I've noticed over the course of the evening so far, Dave, drivers on the outside of that front row getting caught out a little bit by the race leader making the jump.
Yeah, it's definitely a preferred line that you want to be there. And, of course, now you got a 50-50 chance to make it to the main event.
Don't make it sound like that. It is literally like flipping a coin in some ways.
Yes.
For these drivers. Pace truck going to pull off and away, and instantly once again, Thad Countryman going to get ready to go. And Jeremy DeWitt, can he plug the hole and get to the inside of Cody Retzlaff up into the opening corner? Remember, 4 drivers enter, 4 laps of racing, 2 with spots in the main event. DeWitt mounts the inside wall, loses a bunch of momentum, and now fights for 3rd and 4th position with Crosby into turn 2.
Yeah, and of course that K-rail, you hit that too hard, you can break your front suspension, lose a tire. So you got to be careful. Those are not movable forces, those concrete barriers.
They are very immovable, and they will send you up into the air if you're not careful. Yes. Side by side, off of turn 3, between DeWitt and Crosby as they make the climb up into the final corner. DeWitt the long way around, really trying to turn that car, but you can see how much they slide. It's going to give the opportunity for Crosby to cut underneath and make the move, but at the end of lap number 1, surely Countryman and Retzlaff thinking, you know what, we're feeling comfortable.
Yeah, I think DeWitt run that 38. You might think he's Brian Deegan trying to do some freestyle off that barrier, but look at this. Countryman, Retzlaff, those two have set themselves their own race.
Yep, it's probably not even going to be a race where they fight amongst themselves. Elevation so pronounced, by the way, that our helicopter gets blocked off by the run into turn 4 down at the very bottom of the course. Chop of the nose there by Crosby as well. One thing you were saying that I found quite interesting, Dave, is you can't change your line, but that is, something that through some of these shorter tracks where, the corners are a little bit more hairpin-like, you'll see less off. I think, over to Crandon, I think to Bark River, where we've got those flowing corners, some of those S's sections. That's something where I never really thought about how much you can really influence the driver behind by being a bit naughty in front.
Oh, absolutely. You could actually force that guy to get off his line. Get off there, you brake check him a little bit. He's coming up in his line. He's got to change that attitude of the truck, and it will literally just throw your whole game plan off.
Yeah, this is the problem. I'm too nice. That's why I can't be a good race car driver. I don't think about all these nefarious tactics. Of course, news today in the world of IndyCar. Inadvertent, it sounds like, but of course there was a bit of a push to pass, games being played in the start of races and whatnot. If you're not pushing, you're not trying, is I think the motto of all race car drivers.
Oh, absolutely. I agree with you 100% on it.
White flag in hand as Thad Countryman rises up to that opening corner. Looks pretty calm. And the one thing that I always like to admire from a driver racing from their bedroom, they've made their bed.
Yeah. I think he's got a sock hanging there, though. He might have to get that away, tidy it up.
Sock at the door actually means he's racing here rather than something
Yeah, that's
else.
right. Just don't pull the black light out.
Yeah, exactly. Dennis Crosby and Jeremy DeWitt. Unfortunately, that fighting amongst each other really cost them hard. Thad Countryman, Cody Retzlaff not really needing to do much to make their way on forward to the back of the main event, where, of course, they'll have some work to do, but points will be up for grabs. Expecting a bit more, I think, in terms of drama coming into the final of the LCQs, but LCQ number 2 with only one change for 3rd and 4th position.
Yeah, rather uneventful, we're going to call this one, which is okay for these drivers. I'm sure Countryman and Ratzliff are like, hey, I'm good with that.
Let me take my spot and let me think about what I've still got left to do. Remember, we've still got 4 more laps before we know the 18 drivers that will do battle, but this is how they finished in the second of those LCQs with Countryman, Retzlaff, Crosby, DeWitt, and Miller. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, although we didn't unfortunately get to see Terry Miller here today. We will get to see 5 cars in the final of the LCQs, though, where Nicholas Dachelet and Cross Kirchmeier share the front row, Taylor Vanden Bush and then Cameron McGijic on row 2, and then Brock Smith trying to fight his way from the back in the number 46 machine. And once again, same story in terms of 5 drivers and trucks to enter and 2 to fight their way on forward. No changes in terms of race control from that second LCQ, Dave. What we want to see.
Well, we're going to see if this one's going to stand out. We've had definitely 2 different LCQs. Let's see how this one's going to go. I think it's going to be interesting. Nicholas Dachelet, Kirchmeier, Vanderbush, Magishik, and Smith.
And unfortunately, my record book from the championship series got deleted by Google a little bit ago. But if I remember correctly, Nicholas Dachelet has had a decent amount of success here in this track over the course of the iRacing, not just National Short Course Series, but Off-Road Championship Series as well. Can he be a bit dominant at the front? Look at him just setting up and waiting, baiting the start there. Cross Kirchmeier not going to get swarmed, though, because he was very intelligent in how he got the power pinned down and covers off any move up into the opening corner. It's going to be Taylor Vanden Bush 3rd, Brock Smith fighting behind with Magishik, and contact between them down into turn 2.
And Dachelet with a nice clean start there. Kirchmeier now trying to work on him there, but Vanderbush trying to give Kirchmeier a little help in the turn. He had to get on the binders, back it off just a little bit to keep the contact down.
We will only see more than 10 trucks in a race when we get to the main event. These drivers having to fight in a very different sort of a battlegrounds with limited machines around them. Brock Smith, Magishik hoping not to drop too far back as the 89 almost goes end over end. It's very easy to flip, even by yourself, through the final corner.
Oh, I've seen it many times here. This track has been notorious for some acrobatic moves.
And what they did on iRacing a couple of builds ago was we used to have this, before we had short course on iRacing, we had the jump at Mount Panorama. You can no longer take that, but now you can do all sorts of spaceship status stuff if you bring the jumpy trucks to this track and you find the small places where physics don't quite line up. As we get ready to close up lap 2, though, in the third of the LCQs. Boy, how time has really flown this evening. Cross Kirchmeier dropping back from Dachelet, but also pulling away from Vanden Bush in 3rd.
Yeah, it looks like this one's pretty much established. I mean, Kirchmeier and Dachelet are going to really have to make mistakes for Vanden Bush, Smith, and Bergershik to get up in the battle there.
That's one of the drivers waiting to go.
Over.
And that's the look at Nicholas Dachelet. What I find interesting in VR is where do these drivers look? So he's heading up towards turn 3 right now. He's not even really looking that much to the left or right. He's basically just keeping his head straight.
It looks like when you say something to your dog and he kind of tilts your head going, huh?
Now that I've seen that, I will never be able to unsee it.
Ruh-roh.
Hopefully no trouble, though, for anyone else, although Cameron McGijic has returned to pit lane, so not sure quite what's happened to him. But final lap in this final LCQ as Dachelet runs away at the front.
Yeah, this is just a runaway here. I mean, we saw it in the other one, was hoping for a little bit of battling going on. But this is all right. I'm sure Dachelet has no problem running a smooth ride because he's going to have his hands full fighting his way from the back of the pack when they make it to the main event.
And a main event that is eagerly awaited in many ways, because some are talking about the storylines of whether Keaton Swain can storm his way back to victory lane. Will we see a third winner this season? Can anyone stop the train that is Luke Knupp and Connor Barry from rolling on forward? There's still going to be plenty of storylines to answer, and I think for Dashley and Kirchmeier from the back, what will they be able to do as the final of our LCQs comes to a close? 18 drivers locked and loaded for the main event, and Nicholas Dashley cross Kirchmeier will line up at the back, albeit with a chance to knock up some valuable championship points. We say goodbye, unfortunately, to Taylor Vandenbush, as well as to one or two drivers that don't end up seeing the end, but really it's been electric to get to this point, and it's only going to be even more exciting moving forward. Confirmation of the results. No late changes from race control for us, but Dave, now it's just the drivers ready to go for the 22 laps in that main event.
Yeah, and I'm really shocked to see, who's not going to make it to the main event here, but it's going to be a rough one for these drivers. I'm just looking at the talent pool. I mean, Luke Knupp, Keaton Swain, of course, Connor Barry. It's just going to be insane.
And remember how close they were in qualifying. We had a 10th or so splitting the top 6. There's still plenty to fight for. Don't go anywhere, though, on RaceSpot TV. The main event here from the Wild West Motorsports Park coming up next. With half the season done, the championship is finally poised, and we make our way to the Wild West Motorsports Park for round 6 in the iRacing Short Course National Series presented by Next Level Racing. We made our way to the main event. 18 drivers have locked themselves in, and now 22 laps of racing lie in front of us. Our Junior Kanki party joined alongside by Dave Arnold, the voice of off-road, as we get ready to go. They're lined and loaded up. Let's go and jump trackside to take you down through today's starting grid. It is going to be Keaton Swain that leads us to the green. He'll be alongside Luke Knupp, with Connor Barry and Crystal King sharing row number 2. Dane Culver, Trenton Browley, third row for the pair, with Zachary Drapkin and then Tyson Miller, 7th and 8th positions respectively. It'll be Christopher Plumley, Matthew Lindy, Sean Winkler, and then Cody Winnicki, your top 12 drivers that advance directly from the main events. from the heat races. Everyone else had to get to the main event from the LCQs, and Cody Vanderveer, Thad Countryman, Nicholas Dashley, Oliver Golding, Cody Retzlaff, and Cross Kirchmeier have some work to do, but still find themselves in a situation where points are up for grabs. Dave, this is one of those bullring style tracks where action is expected to be at an all-time high, but I think it's fair to say we haven't seen the most physical nature of the drivers so far today.
Oh, no. I mean, now we've got 18 cars out there. We don't have 7. We don't have 5. They're going to be leaning on each other. They're all going to be fighting for position, and they're all going to try to thread the eye of the needle. If someone leaves a little daylight, they're going to dive to the inside and try to take that position.
We will get a full flying formation lap, so don't worry. These drivers won't be gritting up and punching the throttle instantly. A couple of moments for them to get ready and mentally prepare themselves. The other thing that we have a bit special in this race is the competition caution that we'll see, Dave, after the conclusion of lap 9. Now, this is a 22-lap race. The track has obviously evolved since we started this race. We've been we've been throwing the dirt all across the facility. What do you think the drivers are going to be thinking as they try and split this race up into 2 phases?
Well, I mean, this is something that's normal for them. I mean, one of the things in short course racing, we've been doing it since the early 2000s. It just makes better TV, makes better show. You know, you want to get up there, you want to get into the position, you feel comfortable, and you got to be in the top 5 by the halfway point. Otherwise, then it's an uphill battle the entire time. And I'm looking at the stacked field right here. Swain, Knupp, Barry, King, Culver, Briley, Drapkin, Miller, Plumley, Lindy, Winkler, Winnicki, Vanderveer, Countryman. I'm just going down. It's like, this is going to be insane. You know, I'm kind of surprised Cody Retzlaff had to fight his way in there. Him and his brother Parker, always do so well, too.
Yeah, I'm a bit sad not to see Parker out here today, but yes, looking forward to when he does rejoin us. He, of course, in those Team Rogue machines, can do a lot. I have no idea who's going to win this race, Dave, but what I do know is when we look at championship points, it's looking very, very close. It would still end up being 7 points between Barry and Knupp if they finish as they are, although I get the sneaking suspicion they'll be both hoping to fight their way to the front.
And I know right now they're all looking at the points there, especially Dane Culver and Zach Drapkin, not that far apart right now. Culver's thinking, I got to finish in front of Drapkin to get some more points, but Connor Barry's thinking the same about Luke Knupp. And we're green.
We have one more Triple Crown left to go after this, but there's still these exciting race formats and the competition cautions to come in these regular events in the iRacing Short Course National Series. Look at the field stacked up through turn number 1. Keaton Swain leads them down into turn 2. Side by side are plenty behind, but a great tidy start for all 18 trucks.
I'll tell you, Keaton Swain knows how to win here. You know, unfortunately, didn't make that first round. Luke Knupp took the first round here where we kicked this National Series off. So Swain saying, okay, this is my track. I know how to win. But Luke Knupp says, you know what? I've already taken a win here this season. Now, Connor Barry, these top 3. I knew it was going to be these top 3, you know, going to be separating out there, but expecting Culver, King, and Briley to get up there and Drapkin to try and fight with them also.
So much fighting, but really in the heart and the tail end of the pack. It's up front where they have single filed out very successfully because none of the drivers really want to fight. It's side by side between a couple of machines. Trenton Briley leans on Crystal King. This is the fight for 6th position or so as they dive down the hill, and you can see the separation that it's building, but it will all get reset at the end of lap number 9. It's why the competition caution means these drivers that start down the back, Dave, have a bit of urgency to make their way forward.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, it's an uphill battle when you're, you know, after the comp caution, you're sitting in the back of the pack. It just seems like an unsurmountable task to get completed.
Side by side for the lead, but I don't think it's really too much fighting because Keaton Swain allows Luke Knupp to take over the point. Connor Barry slides behind in 3rd, Dane Culver 4th. But new race leader as we come to the end of lap number 2, and this is where for Luke Knupp he's going to be thinking, let's see what I can do in terms of keeping a couple of cars between me and Connor Barry.
And there's a lot of strategy to these drivers, you know, okay, I don't necessarily have to be leading to win this race in the end. When you get that comp caution, it's a whole nother race. It's a whole nother mindset to set up there and how your car, some of these trucks in the second half of the race seem to be a little bit faster.
Oh, there's a lot of contact behind. I think that was a send from maybe Oliver Golding, but they get off the corner of turn 2 safely, still wheel to wheel off through turn 3, but now with the margin building between Crystal King and Zachary Drapkin, who's alongside with Matthew Lindy in the KES Industries car. Redline All Machine turns in and able to slide its way on forward, a bit slow through the middle of the corner, but gets the power down. And the four-wheel Pro trucks a little bit more forgiving in that aspect than the Pro 2s. For the lead, Keaton Swain to the inside and trying to push Luke Knupp a little bit wide.
A lot of people don't understand in real life, and I'm sure they've taken this into effect, these are not full-time all-wheel drive vehicles. When you back off that throttle, the front diff usually disengages, and then when you get back on the gas, all four wheels turn again. So it allows the truck to rotate around. So that's how you kind of have to think and drive that way.
I find it very interesting as well, talking to some of these drivers, that some say they like the Pro 2 trucks, some say they prefer the Pro 4 trucks, because I guess speaking technically, Dave, the Pro 2 truck does require a little bit more driver skill, a bit more ability to suss out just using the rear tires to send all 900 odd horsepower to the tarmac and the dirt.
Yeah, that's right. Knowing when to get on the brakes to get that front end to bite, because you want to use those tires to turn you. We're in these Pro 4s. You got the front pulling you around the turn, so you don't have that in a Pro 2.
You can see top and bottom fight for the lead, still holding relatively tight, but as the likes of Sean Winkler get half-turned by Christopher Plumley, we'll see the end of lap 5. We're closing on that competition caution as well, and it was tight in qualifying. 5 cars split by 1.5 seconds. It's tight on track as well.
Yeah, this race is still going to be in full effect. You can see a little bit of fenders flying up in the air there, probably some contact there with Plumley from early on there that we saw with Winkler.
A little bit wide there for Keaton Swain, opens the door for Connor Barry to have a look, albeit to the unpreferred side of the track on the dive down into turn 2. Now, is that Swain setting up a look on the race leader? Does Luke Knupp give a bit more room than was maybe wise? There was definite shoving from Trenton Brierley into Dane Culver, into Connor Barry. The concertina effect very much playing a part for these drivers. Look at the left side of the screen, Dave, and note who has actually been moving their way on forward. Nicholas Dachelet +3, Sean Winkler, Matthew Lindy +2. Not many drivers able, though, to make big gains so far.
Well, no, and it's like I said, once you get to the main event, these drivers, we saw from qualifying and racing how close they are in times, or I should say in skill levels, which really translates that way with the times and how they do this. You can see Trent Brierley was trying to get a full send sliding in there. He's trying to get up on Dane Culver.
Let's check in with your championship point situation. Again, remember, after this, we've still got a handful of rounds to go, but in a 10-round season where you are allowed to drop 2 of your weeks, Luke Knupp's already dropped 2 rounds, Connor Barry has dropped none, and the final round cannot be removed from the equation. There's a point for leading halfway as well that will be factored in, and so if they finish as they are right now, it would stack up with the margin sitting at 4 points between Barry and Knupp. Zachary Drapkin, Dane Culver, only 3 points between them as well, and look at how much Culver will close in this round alone.
That's what I was saying earlier, Culver's thing, I got to get in front of Drapkin to keep those points a little bit shorter there as they battle through the season. And that's what it is. It's every point matters. You can see everybody's doing a little tiptoeing through that turn there. You're like, oh, I'm going to slide into him, get on the binders. If you get taken out here, then you don't have any points.
It's 50 points for a race win, 2 points lost for every position after that. So, there is a bit of an impetus, even if you do make it into the main event from one of those LCQs. If you're fighting for a championship, have to make your way on forward, especially when Connor Barry, I think, has finished no lower than 4th this season. We'll see the competition caution, though, next time by when we cross the stripe, because we'll cross over to lap 9, and we'll see the pace truck probably pull out next time by.
Well, it's going to be a run all the way here. Like you said, it's always close to the halfway point when we get these guys rewrapped and restacked. So we're going on board right now with Connor Barry. You can see that suspension, as you can see Keaton Swain's truck in front of him, and a little glimpse there of Luke Knupp out front.
Just a small little glimpse. He's held relatively calm so far, I would say, and Keaton Swain bit more pressure building behind than in front, I'd have to argue. Remember, again, we will see the competition caution this time by Cody Winicki. Has had to take a trip down to pit lane. I'm not sure exactly what that one is about. There's no tire changes or anything that you're allowed here in the iRacing Short Course National Series. And so again, end of lap 9, competition caution will fly and will bring things to a screeching halt and rack them up once more as they slow down the tempo and get ready to do it all again. Drivers still fighting on their way to the line though. Cody Retzlaff, Cody Vanderveer and Cross Kirchmeier right now at the very backs, crossing the line and slowing things down. So race 1 effectively done, Dave. Now we've got the second race in this main event.
Yes, that's right. Well, you're talking about, you know, going into the pits there, could have been some other damage, but even in real life, you get a flat tire, you go into the pits, you might, what do they say, you got a snowball chance in, heck, that place. This happens and unfolds so quickly. And there's only been, I think, 2 drivers ever seen that even fought their way back in the top 5. And I think it was Kyle LeDuc and Rob McCachran.
Yeah, no, we didn't have LCQs in our iRacing Off-Road Short Course Championship, but I think back to the iRacing Rallycross World Championship, which we had 4 seasons or so there, and only once did we have a winner go from an LCQ to win the entire event, so it's something very, very rare. Cody Winicki is going to get a lap back, though, so he will cycle back around to the tail end of the field, and this is, again, where effectively we do equalize things out. And from a sim racer's perspective, this is unusual, Dave, sitting and waiting and not doing anything.
Well, usually they're keeping them rolling around, but I think they're waiting, like you said, Winicki to come back and tag the back of the field there. And one of the big things, too, as you saw in the start of the race, they're side by side. On the restart, they're going to be single file, nose to tail. Yeah, I can see Dane Culver's going, what's going on? Let's get moving here.
What does single file versus double file mean in short course, especially on the climb up to turn 1 that we have? In IndyCar, which I get to watch a lot of nowadays, there's a big difference there, but here I feel as though in a lot of ways it encourages drivers to be a bit more aggressive with the application of the brakes and how late they are.
Yeah, and you got to pop out and create your own line real quick there on a nose to tail single file start.
And so away they go once again after race control gives them their command. Remember, competition caution, end of lap 9, and now we'll burn through lap 10 and get ready to go on lap 11 of 22. It's Knupp, Swain, and Barry that have been 1, 2, 3, the class of the field for a handful of laps. Dane Culver, can he use this opportunity to put the pressure on and to make up some ground? Once again, we unleash the trucks on the rise up to turn number 1. Keaton Swain not going to be able to get alongside of Luke Knupp, albeit with a bit of contact. Instead, Connor Barry battles with his iRacing Championship Series rival down into turn number 2. Contact in the air between Briley and Culver.
I was going to say, Briley and Culver and Briley are just going battle right now, door to door, elbow to elbow, as we like to say. You can see a great line. Luke Knupp heading up there. Keaton Swain, he's staying right behind him. But you see Connor Barry is now split up. And look at this, Connor and Dane Culver are going to start the battle here.
Dane gets the door slammed shut on him, though. That was very, very aggressive. And now Briley really gives him a shove through the downhill entry into turn number 4. At the line, half race distance officially complete, and 11 laps still left to run. First side-by-side battle sees Matthew Lindy and Tyson Miller popping out of line for 10th and 11th spot, but up front, it has closed up with the competition caution. It's now 5 cars within 1 second. 2 seconds splits effectively the top 7 or so. There's a bit more argy-bargy down through the back, and finally it's up front too as Dane Culver feels the pressure. Trenton Briley up the inside.
And it's a good run right now. You can see Luke Knupp's getting a little bit of distance, but Connor Barry looking to the inside, and Keaton Swain trying to get a run up there. Culver's dropped just a little bit off the pass there as he's trying to hold off Briley, and Crystal King going to start hounding Briley just a little bit.
Went Keaton Swain into the wall, and as he bounces back onto the racing line, Connor Barry rips second away from him. The 2-year wait for victory lane may continue for Keaton Swain, especially now as he gets a shove from behind. Dane Culver going to watch Trenton Briley make even more inroads on trying to make his way forward to 4th, but Culver's not going to sit down and let this one go. Bit more contact down through the apex, and guess what? Crystal King 3 wide on corner exit.
Yeah, he left that door wide open there, and King tried to sneak in the inside. Fortunately, the preferred line that Briley had was a little bit quicker. He's able to fill it and block that forward momentum.
So the look from Crystal King in that 278 machine, down 2 from the start position, but still in a very good spot to take advantage of the rubbing doors in front. Trenton Briley and Dane Culver going to make contact on the exit because Culver got launched off of the wall into Briley, lost some momentum. Briley still got the inside though. This is great stuff, costing them valuable ground though. Briley slams into the door of Culver, 3 wide once again off the corner.
I got to say, this is great watching this, the Culver Briley King battle. This is not going to be over until this race is over. And it's going to allow, though, unfortunately, Keaton Swain, Connor Barry, and Luke Knupp, as you can see, start to gap them on there. So we got a group of 3 and then about 4, 5th, and 6 all battling. Drapkin trying to hold off the advances, though. Plumley, that plum crazy purple machine.
Plum crazy purple. Never once did we come up with that line in 2 years of the championship series, stealing that one from you as well. Let's take a look at some replays, by the way, as we continue tracking the live action. This is what happened to Tyson Miller. The inside wheel just locks into the wall, and that, well, I don't even think he gets it off the wall. He didn't have to take the toe back to pit lane. Not the only driver in strife, though. Nicholas Dashalet had to end up taking to pit lane. What happened to him? Maybe something else with Thad Countryman as well.
Yeah, Countryman, I just saw, he's been in the pits now for 53 seconds, so that's not going to be good for him. It's unfortunate there, but I'll tell you, who's not having problems? Luke Knupp. He is just driving his marks.
That's what happened to Countryman. Not quite sure, but you can see Dashalet into pit lane voluntarily as well. So maybe there was black flags to be served potentially that came on through from race control. Side by side between the Plum Crazy machine and Zachary Drapkin. Now Plumley's got the inside. Drapkin, bodywork flying behind them on the rise up to turn number 1. Look how much he's sideways up the hill.
Yeah, it's a great run there. Some great battles in the back. I mean, this race, they're treating it like it's a championship right now. These drivers all trying to get one more position to try to get a few more points. Oh, look at this. Plumley and Drapkin still going at it. Plumley couldn't get that inside line pulling through there. You know, that outside line translates quickly to an inside line if you can make it happen.
Still not really seeing too much fighting up towards the front. You can keep an eye on your leaders in the bottom corner of your screen. Connor Barry getting a bit more physical, a bit more willing to lean on your race leader, but leaning on Dane Culver is Trenton Briley once again down out of the final corner. It will be 6 laps to go this time by as we work our way up into turn number 1. It's 3 for the lead, and then everyone else fighting behind.
And look like the lead is starting to heat up there. Connor Barry making a run right now on Knupp. Knupp on the inside there. Swain's going to try and go through the middle, split the uprights there, but he'll keep it low and tight along the K-rail.
It's a nice little fight, and all as it looks like it's come unstuck for Christopher Plumley behind. They've got the memo, though, that they've got the margin they needed to start this fighting. Can Keaton Swain build his momentum around the outside with Connor Barry getting a pretty poor run out of turn 3? More body parts going to go flying. They are not going to take any regard for the health of their truck. Instead, it's all about what's on the line. 50 points for the race win, and championship standings, well, it's still 5 between Barry and Knupp.
And I tell you, Barry definitely wants to knock those points back on Knupp. One position doesn't make that big of a deal, but every point's going to matter in this championship run, especially now Knupp has to make every single round to make it count.
And that's where Barry's got the comfort if he does want to let Keaton Swain maybe take the case and the fight to your race leader. He could allow the Sim Coaches Factory SimSport machine to make that fight, but never have we seen Connor Barry in that CBR General Tire machine step down and representing Nitro Circus Sim Racing assume that he will continue to push. Jump on board with him as well, and with a bit of contact off the corner, it will be 4 laps to go at the line, still with Luke Knupp holding on to the lead.
I'll tell you, Connor Barry's General Tire grabbers are just digging deep into the dirt trying to hold up, and look how violent it is. Coming up that jump, up that hill, just slamming there.
And these drivers are doing all of that physical racing while leaving each other just enough room. There is the calm, cool, collected Connor Barry. So calm, cool, collected that sometimes we don't see much emotion when he comes across to win races. But Dave, that's typical of the sim racer. They live in this era where, you know, sim racing is more mental than physical, and they've always got to be in control of their emotions.
Oh, you know what? In real life, a lot of these drivers, you know, yeah, they're moving around, getting jostled around, but you got to have the same focus. I mean, that's just the race car driver. It's in their DNA to stay calm, not get, you know, over anxious, you know, keep your heart rate down, keeps your mind working, keeping it smooth.
And smooth is all that really I think Luke Knupp's thinking about, with 3 more to go at the line, a bit more just leaning on one another, but that's all it really is. Connor Barry can't do much more in this fight for the lead. Remember, they have 4.5 seconds behind them, plenty of time to scrap if they wanted to.
And I saw him setting up for that outside-inside move there. Couldn't make it stick there, but Keaton Swain's also thinking the same thing. You know, if Connor's going to step out a little bit, try and change his lineup, he's going to make a run at it. But look at this. They are both blocking his line.
And that's the first time after turn 3 that Connor Barry's got a very good exit, and he will have the chance to make the slide job happen, but he stays tight to the apex, gives Knupp the opportunity to run the speed around the outside, and a bit of a drag race to the line, and a drag race that Luke Knupp would have won if that was the run to the checkered. 3 wide up to turn 1 though. Keaton Swain, all sorts of cattywampus, backs out of it, and then back up the inside. This is great stuff. 2 laps to go.
3 wide off the hill coming out of turn number 1. Here we go, turn number 2. Barry have the inside line. He's going to try and force Knupp a little wide. But Swain sees the door open, and he's going to take them both now. Knupp will still have that line as they slide it around here. Barry now getting a little frustrated, tries to look up the inside and leans on him just a little bit.
That might help Swain here get the exit speed, and around the outside, momentum on his part will take Keaton Swain back to the point. We'll see the white flag this time by Luke Knupp with a shot to Keaton Swain, but Keaton Swain's gone 2 years without victory, not going to take this one lying down. White flag in hand, 1 lap to go, and 3 drivers, Dave, that could come out on top.
And a nice throw in there by Connor Barry to the inside of Knupp. Swain goes back to 3rd now. He swaps it out here. They're on the white flag, the final lap. Knupp, look for Barry for the outside-inside move. He's going to get the inside, try and change the position on Knupp. But this is where Swain was set up and made the pass last time. So they're going to have to keep that in mind.
Door slam shut though on Keaton Swain that time by, and I wonder if Luke Knupp, amidst all of that, has done just enough. Keaton Swain and Connor Barry neck and neck for 2nd position, but the streak will continue. There have been 2 dominant forces in the 2024 iRacing Short Course National Series. Luke Knupp with another race victory holds off Connor Barry in style and takes a couple of valuable championship points to his name. What a remarkable race, and Dave, the back half of the season has started with a bang.
I'll tell you, this is just an incredible to finish 3 wide. These drivers were just hanging it out, and they were leaving nothing on the table. All the tricks were on the table.
The best on the service were on display, and Connor Barry might feel a little frustrated, but ultimately, what a fight. He couldn't really have done much more, and we look from up above at the facility with the final drivers making their way to the line. And we'll grab a look at the race results. Provisional look as well at the championship points, because, well, something to talk about is the fact that a couple of the championship drivers may have race control looking at them for previous infringements as well for ones from today. But it's Team Gold and Luke Knupp on top from Connor Barry and Keaton Swain. Dane Culver grabs 4th, fending off all of the challenges from behind in what was a pretty crazy fight with Trenton Browley, Zachary Drapkin, and Crystal Kring finishes down in 7th. Sean Winkler, Christopher Plumley, and Matthew Lindy make up your top 10, with not too much movement inside of those positions. Sean Winkler +3, Crystal King down 3, the biggest shakers in the top 10 running order. Oliver Golding was 11th after he fought his way forward 5 positions. 6 positions gained though for Cross Kirchmeier. Cody Vanderveer, Nicholas Dachelet also scored on the lead lap, with Cody Retzlaff and Tyson Miller 1 lap down. It's Cody Winicki and Thad Countryman at the back, unfortunately not seeing the checkered flag. And wow, Dave, we can take a bit of a breath and now wait to be catching up with our race winner and podium sitters.
Well, I'll tell you, that one did not disappoint. We've had The last couple rounds have been incredible, and this one, I think, each time, I don't know how they stepped their game up, but they did.
And, it's crazy that with just 4 tracks available, I know Christopher Plumley will be very glad to hear me say this, but, he's been waiting for Wheatland for quite a while. The drivers have become so attuned with how to make their speed and how to build setups for each of these tracks that we go to week in and week out. And that means that, Dave, every time they come here, they already know basically that they maximize the car, and they're looking for such small gains every single week.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, all these drivers, though, they pretty much figured out all these tracks. And I love how you talked about hoping to bring Wheatland here, one of my favorite tracks of all times. Underovers, Talladega, Daytona turns, and a huge, twice the size coming off of turn 1, the downhill on the backside of Wheatland.
It'd be nice to have a little bit of change as well and mixing and matching. I tell you what, we're still waiting for Luke Knupp. He's still celebrating this win. So instead, let's go in reverse order through the podium and start with Keaton Swain, who joins us now. Keaton, what a fun fight that was. 3 drivers putting it all on the line. I know it's been a while since you've come out on top in the iRacing Short Course Series. Did you think you had enough to do it here today?
I don't know. I definitely, thought we had a good shot there with starting on the pole. And I knew I was fine with not leading, actually. I was just kind of wanting to get to the mandatory, and then I was actually going to be okay with riding in third and seeing what was going to happen in front of me. And honestly, it worked out just how I'd planned. And then the last lap, I just overdrove the last turn just a little bit, and I think that's what ruined my best chance at getting a win there. But other than that was a lot of fun. That's probably one of the most fun races I've had on the sim. We were just, they were dicing it out, and I was just sitting there waiting for something to happen. So, all in all, it was a lot of fun.
We've still got a couple of rounds to go. We've got a double header in many ways coming up. Bark River and Crandon, May 1st and May 2nd. How's that going to be for you guys going back-to-back, preparing for those rounds? We were just talking, Dave and myself, about how, you've only had 4 tracks, so you're quite dialed in on the setups, and you're now just trying to find every micro adjustment you can to be even faster.
Yeah, like you said, we've basically only have the 4 tracks, so all of us kind of know and have a setup of what we normally run. It's just kind of fine-tuning some stuff. So we'll just, go what we normally have, probably put in a little bit of practice. You can never test enough or do enough practice laps to be sharp. So with back-to-back, it'll be tough because you want to, practice for the first one, but you also need to practice for the second one. So probably just split it in half there and try to just get some laps in.
Well, thanks for jumping in with us, Keaton. Congratulations on 3rd place, and can't wait to see you back out in a couple of weeks' time.
Thank you.
Keaton Swain joins us in the commentary booth. We'll make our way down to the second step of the podium as well, where we can chat with Connor Barry, who tried, but unfortunately, Connor, it was just not enough. It seemed like a fun fight, though. Talk us through today's round 6 of the iRacing Short Course National Series.
Yeah, that was fun. We started in third because we qualified first, and then I got first inside the heat race, and then I was put back to third, and then we stayed third the whole entire first half, and my goal was just to try and save the truck because I knew that we were gonna have a bullet, and the truck was fast. It was just hard to pass, and my goal was to just be clean, and that's what we did. Everyone out there is fast, so it was definitely hard. But hey, we still got the second spot. So it was fun, and that was the most intense one I've had.
Keaton was saying it's maybe the best race he's ever been in, Connor. I don't disagree with what I've seen personally. And I've got to ask, one thing that in terms of championship storyline is quite important is the fact that, Luke's got 2 of his drop rounds already used, unfortunately, after missing 2 races. You have had a pretty solid season so far, not finishing lower than 4th. So you have this ability to go out and drive with less pressure. Do you feel that on your shoulders? Do you know that you've got a couple of good results in the back pocket that you can rely on?
I would say I kind of do, because our goal here is we need to get a cap, and it should still be 8, I think, because I got P2, so I don't think the cap is going to be shut. But definitely We needed to win that race, but we didn't. So I think our goal right now is to just be consistent. But we definitely need to get back in front of that 5, or else we're gonna go into Crandon tight. So it's gonna be fun though, and it's gonna be good because he is fast and Swain is fast. He is a tad bit back there, but he's still going to be fast and gonna be fighting for wins. But definitely I need to keep AI on that 5.
And I'm always intrigued by racing drivers that say that no, they've always got to win. Congratulations, Connor. We know that you want to be on top, and well, second today. Can't wait to see you back out on track in a couple of weeks' time.
Sounds good.
Connor Barry jumps in to have a chat with us, and now we can make our way down to Victory Lane, where our winner Luke Knupp is standing by with Dave Arnold.
Luke Knupp, what a great run you took and qualified. You got a great position to the start. You won your heat race, and let's talk a little bit about this race. It was a tight one. The battles, the three of you, Keaton and Connor, both were just switching positions you through the whole entire race.
Yeah, for sure. Had a good qualifying effort finally. Last 2 weeks have been not very good, so qualified second and won my heat race, and then just wanted to follow through with Keaton behind me at the beginning, and did just that, and then he left the door open, so I pounced on it and wanted to get clean air as fast as I could. I don't like sitting behind people, I like leading the way, so we got to the front and then just swung the wrong way on setup, so we were super tight at the end, but thankfully with the blue groove it was hard to pass, and man, that was a dogfight at the end. I'm not sure what the other guys thought, but that was probably one of the best races of the season or in the league ever.
I'm going to absolutely agree on that, and especially the battles that we watched through turn number 2. The setup, Connor would jump on the inside, then Keaton would try and split it. You guys trying to keep that momentum through turn 3. What was going through your mind when Connor did get by you at that point for just a brief moment?
Just to not overreact and stay calm. Just gotta. The biggest thing is keep calm and don't let the pressure get to you. And I've had Connor stuck behind me for a while now, or for a few races, and it's a tough task to keep him behind you, but if you can do it, man, it makes you feel good. So came in this race I think 7 points back, so I think we gained a few. We pretty much stayed even, which is unfortunate, but another win for the Team Gold squad and third of the season. Won both at the Wild West, so that's pretty cool, and just looking forward to the last 4 races of the season.
And let's talk about the last lap, coming around there, the pressure. Connor diving to the inside there. Keaton was trying to go there. Were you a little worried about getting turned around there? Because you guys were just within literal micro inches.
Yeah, I know. With other people, I can kind of run my lines a little more, but you got to be a lot more strategic with Keaton and Connor behind you because they know every trick in the book. So really just had to guess on some things. Had my spotter Tyler up in the up top, and he was helping and coaching me a lot. So thanks to him. Wouldn't have won it without him. He coached me a lot through those last 10 or so laps with Connor on me, and then Keaton, and Keaton got by me and just had to I used the bumper a little bit to get back by him, and then just had to do our best to hold him off the last 3 corners, but glad we did.
Well, the last question I got for you, you've unfortunately already missed 2 races, your 2 throwaways there. I know keeping that full-time job, prepping on Travis Williams' truck and driving and doing all kinds of stuff. Are we going to see you at all the rounds? Are you going for that championship run?
Yeah, actually now we are. After my last IRL race, I fractured my back, so we are on the sidelines for a few months, so we can finish out the season, and we missed those 2 races, which really is unfortunate, because you just got to have, with how Connor drives in races, you got to have a stellar season to even get close to him. So 3 wins and third on the season so far, but we have no drop races, so these next 3 races are going to be crucial, and then into Crandon is going to be insane. But just got to thank all my sponsors: Impact, Safety, Travis Williams Motorsports, Team Gold Esports, Thad, Tyler, Joel, everyone, Trenton for all the setup work, and just excited for the next rest of the season. And thanks to you guys for broadcasting.
And a good congratulations to you, Luke Knupp, taking the win here at the Wild West Motorsports Park, and sitting second in points. We're going to see how it all rolls out here now. He has nowhere to go but keep racing.
He has a remarkable. 22 wins in the series history. I had to go back and actually look at that with my own two eyes to make sure I believed that number that I had written down at the start of the race. But, you know, we've still got a long way to go in this season at the end of the day. We've come into this round 6, and I love where we're going next. The rolling hills of Michigan to Bark River International Raceway for a doubleheader as well. That's on Wednesday, and then round 8, the very next day, we'll see us go over to Crandon Raceway Short. Still a relatively flowing track, but a slightly different sort of a nature. Next week is going to be interesting, Dave.
No, definitely. And you always got to love Crandon Short Course. It's, you know, you talk about a bull ring. Well, there's a good example of it right there. But Bark River is always fast and very narrow and very tough to pass.
There's that schedule, of course. All roads lead to the Big House on May 16th to close out the season. And at least based on what we're seeing right now, provisionally still looking very, very close. These are unofficial point standings, so may change in the interim before the next time that we go racing. Of course, Luke Knupp will get the extra point for leading halfway through the race, so his total actually comes up to 204. 4 points between two top quality drivers, Dave, with a handful of races to go. And based on today, Luke Knupp saying that he's unfortunately broken his back and not going to be able to race in the real world, his full focus is going to be on trying to make his way to the top of this championship.
Yeah, unfortunately, him and Travis Williams had a G out in San Felipe, and I didn't realize he ended up breaking his back, but at the time when I was down there, I didn't hear that, so hope he clears. I hope he doesn't have a motion sim. A little painful, but they both have three race wins now, Connor Barry and Luke Knupp. No one else has won yet. Will they change that up next time is the big question.
They have been the class of the field. They have put on a show for us here today as well. And as we leave the Wild West Motorsports Park, it's with our spirits in, well, high hopes for plenty more excitement through the rest of the season. And of course, delighted to have it all here live on RaceSpot TV and exclusively on the iRacing short course channels. For our Junior Kanki Party, joined alongside by the voice of off-road, Dave Arnold. Thank you so much for joining us. Can't wait to see you for not one, but 2 races next week. It's going to be a blockbuster, and I can't wait to see what the jumpy trucks do in the rolling hills of Michigan.